Imagine two people eating the exact same meal, same calories, same time, yet their bodies react in completely different ways moments later. One stays seated after the meal, the other takes a short, calm walk, and this simple timing quietly changes everything inside the body. Blood sugar rises differently, insulin signals change, and the body quietly decides whether energy gets used or stored. Most people think walking is just movement, but science shows that when you walk can matter more than almost anything else. What most people never realize is that the minutes around a meal are one of the most sensitive phases of human metabolism. After many meals, people feel heavy, sleepy, and unfocused, and they assume this is just a normal part of eating. Biologically, this moment matters because the body is actively deciding how to handle the energy it just received. And in this short window, a simple choice can quietly influence blood sugar patterns far beyond that single meal. Right after eating, your body enters a decision phase where it determines whether incoming energy will be used efficiently or quietly stored. Many people sit down after meals without realizing this is when metabolism is most sensitive to simple signals like movement. This sensitivity is not about effort or intensity, but about how the body interprets timing around food. And this is why two people eating the same meal can experience completely different outcomes, simply based on what they do next. At first glance, nothing looks different. The meal is the same, the calories are the same, and there is no visible clue of what is about to happen. The only difference is a small habit that most people would never think could matter in the next few minutes. Inside the body, blood sugar begins to rise, hormones respond, and a quiet metabolic decision is already underway. What most people never realize is that this decision can shape blood sugar patterns long after the meal is over. Most people believe that walking is just about burning calories, and that timing does not really matter at all. They think movement only counts if it is intense, sweaty, or structured like formal exercise. But the body does not interpret movement that way. It responds to signals, not effort, and timing is one of the strongest signals there is. When it comes to blood sugar control, when you move can be more influential than how hard you move. Another common misunderstanding is believing that sitting before and after meals has no real effect on metabolism. Modern routines often surround meals with long periods of sitting, and the body receives no instruction on how to handle incoming energy. Without movement, glucose stays in the bloodstream longer, and the body relies more heavily on hormonal signals to cope. This is not about blame or discipline, it is simply how human biology has learned to respond to inactivity. Many people assume these post-meal effects are unavoidable, something everyone must simply accept as normal. They think feeling heavy or sluggish after eating is just part of getting older, not something influenced by daily habits. In reality, these sensations often reflect how the body is handling repeated energy signals throughout the day. Once you understand this, it becomes clear that small timing choices can influence how your body responds over time. The mistake is not what people eat or how hard they try, but missing the importance of simple signals around meals. Timing is rarely discussed, yet it quietly shapes how the body interprets every meal. Once you recognize this, the confusion around blood sugar responses begins to make much more sense. And with that understanding, we can finally look at what really happens when you walk before eating. When you walk before eating, the body is calm, blood sugar is stable, and insulin levels are naturally low. In this state, even gentle movement sends a clear message that muscles will soon need energy. As you move, muscle cells quietly open pathways that allow them to absorb glucose more efficiently later. This walk acts like a quiet preparation phase, setting the stage for how your body will respond to the meal ahead. These pathways allow muscles to take in glucose later, with less effort from the body's regulatory systems. When the meal arrives,
glucose enters a system that is already organized and ready to receive it. Because muscles are prepared, the body often needs less insulin to guide energy where it belongs. This is what scientists describe as improved insulin sensitivity, a more efficient metabolic response. With this preparation in place, blood sugar tends to rise more slowly and smoothly after the meal. The pancreas does not need to work as hard because the body is already prepared to manage incoming energy. From an evolutionary perspective, humans moved before eating for most of history, and metabolism is still adapted to that pattern. Walking before meals quietly recreates this ancient signal and shapes how the body handles food today. When energy arrives in a prepared system, it is directed toward use instead of being pushed into long-term storage. This is why pre-meal movement supports more efficient energy handling without requiring effort or intensity. The walk does not need to be fast or demanding. It simply needs to happen before food enters the system. What matters most is the signal. Movement first, nourishment second. When walking happens before eating, the body receives a clear signal that energy will soon be needed. This signal changes how the next meal is processed, even if the food itself stays exactly the same. Over time, repeating this pattern supports a calmer, more efficient metabolic response to everyday meals. But walking before eating is only one side of the story, and what happens after meals is just as important. When a meal is finished, glucose begins entering the bloodstream and the body shifts into an active processing phase. At this moment, insulin steps in to help move that glucose out of the blood and into cells. Without movement, some of that energy stays in circulation longer and is more likely to be redirected into storage. This is where a short walk after eating can quietly change how the body responds. When you begin walking after a meal, working muscles immediately start pulling glucose directly out of the bloodstream. This process helps lower post-meal blood sugar more quickly, without forcing the body to rely only on insulin. Studies show that even 10 to 15 minutes of gentle walking can noticeably flatten post-meal glucose spikes. In this moment, walking acts like a real-time correction rather than a preparation step. The difference is not subtle. Walking after meals changes how long glucose stays elevated in the bloodstream. Because muscles are helping, the body often requires less insulin to manage the same amount of incoming energy. Many people notice they feel lighter, clearer, and more alert after a short walk, and this reflects steadier blood sugar. What you feel is not imagination, it is the body redistributing energy more effectively in that moment. Walking after a meal is commonly associated with muscles becoming more active, helping explain how the body manages energy following food intake. This reduces how much insulin the body needs to release, easing pressure on metabolic systems after meals.
Right.
Importantly, this effect does not depend on speed, sweat, or fitness, only on gentle, steady movement. Even calm walking sends a strong signal that energy should be used, not stored, right when the body needs guidance most. Compared side by side, post-meal walking consistently leads to a faster return toward balanced blood sugar levels. This means less stress on hormonal systems that must otherwise work harder to correct rising glucose. Over time, repeating this pattern can help reduce repeated spikes that strain metabolism day after day.
That's so important.
Yes, absolutely. So while walking after eating corrects the response, the question becomes when each approach truly fits best. At this point, the goal is not to choose one rule for everyone, but to understand when each option serves the body best. For people with generally stable blood sugar, walking before meals can help maintain long-term metabolic efficiency. But for those who struggle with higher blood sugar after meals, Walking afterward often targets the problem more directly.
The right timing depends on how your body reacts, not on a universal rule or rigid routine.
If your blood sugar is generally steady, walking before meals helps keep insulin sensitivity working quietly in the background. But if post-meal numbers tend to rise quickly, walking afterward often provides more immediate support. Some people even benefit from using both approaches at different times, depending on the meal or the day. The key is paying attention to your own response and letting your body guide the choice. This approach is not about perfection. It is about noticing patterns and responding gently to what your body shows you. Some people, especially those sensitive to blood sugar changes, may need to approach movement around meals with care. Gentle movement is usually enough, and pushing too hard is neither necessary nor helpful for this purpose. The goal is to support balance, not to create stress or discomfort around meals. When you see both approaches clearly, it becomes easier to match the timing to your own needs rather than forcing a single habit. What matters most is consistency, not perfection, and choosing the option you can repeat comfortably over time. Over the long term, these small choices shape how calmly your body handles meals day after day. With that understanding, we can step back and look at the bigger picture of health and balance. When you step back and look at the whole picture, this is not about walking before or after eating as a rule. It is about recognizing how strongly the body responds to small signals that are repeated every single day. Simple habits, done consistently, often shape blood sugar patterns more than dramatic changes that are hard to maintain. The body responds best to what it can trust, calm routines repeated with awareness rather than force. For many older adults, gentle walking around meals is one of the simplest ways to support steadier energy without overthinking health routines. However, every body is different, and medications, medical history, or sensitivities can change how movement feels around meals. If you are unsure or notice unusual symptoms, discussing these habits with your healthcare professional is always the right step. These ideas are meant to inform and guide, not to replace personal medical advice or care. Over time, these small decisions around meals can quietly shape how stable your energy feels throughout the entire day. The body adapts not to occasional effort, but to patterns it sees repeated consistently over time. Progress often feels subtle, but calm consistency is what supports lasting metabolic balance. When you respect the body's rhythm, it responds with greater stability and resilience over time. When you bring all of this together, the message is simple. Small choices repeated daily quietly guide long-term health. You do not need extreme routines, only habits that fit naturally into your life and feel sustainable. When movement and meals work together, the body often responds with greater stability and confidence. Understanding these signals allows you to support your health with clarity rather than confusion. If this explanation helped you better understand your body, I invite you to continue learning with me here on this channel. On Health Hack Hive, we explore practical ways to support energy, balance, and healthy aging through clear, grounded explanations. Remember, these videos are for education only and are meant to complement, not replace, guidance from your personal healthcare professional. If you have questions or experiences to share, leave a comment below, and your perspective helps others learn as well. If you found this discussion helpful, subscribing helps ensure you never miss future conversations about healthy aging and balance. A simple subscription supports this channel and allows me to continue sharing clear, practical guidance each week. Remember, progress comes from understanding your body and responding with patience rather than pressure. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to continuing this journey together here on Health Hack Hive.